Viewpoint is an easy-to-use job submission management portal. And the goal of it is to make job submission easier and faster for end users. Of course, users can still use the command line, but the visual interface and best practices-based application templates and self-help features make Viewpoint able to expand your user base to include even non-IT skilled personnel. And with that, their ability to submit jobs more easily and which will reduce error will help administrators spend less time managing user requests. And they will actually be able to spend more time getting quick visibility into system utilization, workload status, and Viewpoint also gives them great tools for troubleshooting. So these are the basic features of Viewpoint that we're going to go over in the demo in just a minute. We'll go over the end user submission portal, and we'll show just how easy it is for users to put in the requirements necessary to run their jobs. We'll talk about application templates, what it takes for admins to build them, and how it simplifies the process for end users. We'll talk about job details and how it helps users to help themselves with explanatory job messages that help them understand why their jobs failed, and also provides them with CPU statistics to help them understand how many resources they requested versus how many were used, and how they can improve their behavior to more efficiently manage their jobs. We'll also discuss the file manager, which brings in files directly through the portal so that users don't have to access them externally. And then we'll talk about administrative and workload status tracking, which gives admins tools to track the workload of all of their users directly from their side of the portal, and to then go in and help troubleshoot problems. Then we'll get to the resource job timeline, which is another admin tool that helps them look at all the nodes in the system and how jobs are fitting together on each node so that they can see areas where there might be room for improvement as far as system utilization goes. Okay, now we'll jump in to the demo. Here's Viewpoint. We're going to start with creating a job just by clicking Create Job, which opens up various application templates. So for this one, let's open an ANSYS application. As you can see, here are the fields that the administrator has made available for the user for this specific application. Some of the fields have limits on them, and some of the fields might not even be editable if the administrator is trying to implement a best practice. Versions, for example, also down here in versions, you're able to see fields that are not general purpose, but are very specific to this application. So you can have a mix of both those that are general to all types of jobs, as well as those that are specific to an application, so the end user only has to interface with those things that are critical to get his job done. So we'll select a sample input and output file and click Create. And when the job is submitted, you'll open up the job details page, which shows the status of the job, as well as here's the job messages, and there's nothing right there at this time, but if the job were having difficulties, we'd be able to get insight into why that is the case. Also, we see CPU statistics, which update after a minute, and so we'll see more information there as the job progresses. So for a minute, let's jump over to the admin view and see what's going on that side. As you can see, the admin sees the user job that we just submitted. But what I'd like to show is in the templates, application templates. So ANSYS is the one that we just used. On the admin side, these are all the settings that they were able to put into that application template. We have labels, variable names, they can put in default values, and then there are checkboxes for making that field enabled, visible, and editable. Now, a reason you might want to make a field enabled but not visible is if you're trying to implement a best practice such as duration or memory usage, and you don't want users to have to fill out that field the same every time if it's standard, and just have it be applied without them having to worry about it. Now, we're going to look at just how easy it is to add custom fields. So by clicking on Add, all we need to do is select the type, and that can be text, date, number, list, checkbox. For this, let's select text box and create a variable called variable1. And then let's set a default value as 2, for example. We'll click Save. And then up here, where we can see the customized script, down here under Custom Inputs, you can see the variable we've just created, variable1, and it's available now as a drag-and-drop parameter. This way, you can substitute the editable parts of the submission script with best practices-based inputs.
The real objective on this is if you can replace all of the things they might change in the script, your end users do not have to know how to edit the scripts anymore, and they can simply answer the questions that you've put into the form for them to be able to manage.
We're going to go ahead and delete that just because it was for demo purposes. And now we're going to go into some troubleshooting tools for the administrator. So here under the workload list, we get a complete summary of the job names, submitters, start and end dates of each job that they're submitting. Over here on the right, we have search and filter features that let us narrow the results down by job ID, submitter ID, job name, and we can narrow it down by other things like queue status. For example, if we look for blocked jobs, here comes up a few, and now we can troubleshoot these. We can go and view the job details and job messages. For example, this one says inadequate procs in system. So basically someone submitted a job that required more resources than our system had. Now we can communicate this to the user, or we could make edits to our application template that restrict the amount of resources that the user can request so that this doesn't happen again. Another feature in the admin dashboard is the node details page, which gives us a glimpse into all the nodes in the system, their status, cores, jobs, CPU, and utilization. And we can then search on these as well by node ID, class, features.
For example, with features, you may want to be able to find out which of my nodes have my GPUs, which of my nodes are high memory nodes, and are they available? So it gives you a very quick way, and while you only see on the screen 20 or 30 entries, you can change the number of entries. It also has pagination, so it can handle very large systems as well as small and simple ones.
There's another view for node details, and it's called the resource job timeline. It's taking just a minute to load, and here we get a view into the jobs that are being run on each node, and they're color coded according to whether they're running or blocked, busy, completed, and we can see how well our scheduler is doing at fitting jobs together. And if there's white spaces, we know that we can take steps to utilize that node better.
One of the other things you can notice is, for example, down on node 6, you see a few very large jobs. So that helps you characterize and understand how long the jobs are running on that, while you might go to a node like node 2 is filled with a lot of smaller jobs. And because it shows you out into the future, you're going to understand which of these nodes are going to drain first. So if you were trying to filter it down to your GPU nodes or high memory nodes, you can see the workloads and when they would become available.
Great. So now let's jump back over to the user portal and see what happened with our job. Here we can see that our job's been completed. Let's click into it. And here are job details. It's completed. There were no necessary messages, but we do have some interesting insight into the CPU statistics.
Over here we see that dedicated CPUs were allocated at 2, and the job actually started probably using about 1 of those resources, and then later on it jumped up to 3. So the end user did not allocate the proper amount of resources in the job request. Now you can either enforce that they never get more than they need using something like CPU sets, or you can use this to, once again, help the user help themselves as they're able to see what they requested versus what they actually received, so that next time that they could submit it, they do so with the proper information. Because the more exact that you get dedicated to match utilized, the more efficient the scheduler can pack your system.
Also, from the job details page, we can get a preview of the output file, which can also be accessed through the file manager, which gives great tools for managing files. We can go and look at the file itself, which gives us additional tools such as download, compress, move, copy, rename. We can set permissions, and we can delete. Also, we can edit these as groups just by selecting, and we can compress these files and download them or send them. And it gives us great controls directly from the portal, making things even easier for end users.